Russell M. Nelson's recent fall and the deaths of two apostles' wives, Sister Patricia Holland and Sister Kathleen Eyring, brings the mortality of the senior leaders of the church to the forefront of our minds. And when one of those leaders dies, it will have everyone asking, who will replace them? Apostle J. Golden Kimball said, "Some people say a person receives a position in this church through revelation, and others say they get it through inspiration. But I say they get it through relation. If I hadn't been related to Heber C. Kimball, I wouldn't have been a damn thing in this church." I've done a video detailing the nepotism in the leadership of the LDS Church, and that'll be down below the like button in the description, and it will also be right here or here. I can never remember which side it is. Out of the current First Presidency and Quorum of the 12, 6 are direct descendants of past church leaders. 3 have been presidents of church universities. 2 had mission presidents who went on to be general authorities. 1 has served in leadership with someone who was an apostle at the time of their own call. 3 married women who are closely related to general authorities. 1 was the personal surgeon to a church president, as well as the president of a significant Utah stake, and a counselor on that stake presidency was Joseph B. Wirthlin. He was then called to be an apostle by the very church president he had operated on. It's Nelson. I'm talking about Nelson. The one apostle that eluded me, though, the one that I couldn't work out, was Dieter F. Uchtdorf. I couldn't work out how he got on the radar, but now, after some painstaking research, I believe I finally worked it out. It was a lot of work, and if you want to support me in continuing this kind of research, then $5 or $10 a month at the link below really helps. If not, subscribing and liking don't cost you anything, but they do still support me. Now, to the point at hand, Dieter F. Uchtdorf has served as a stake president, member of several area presidencies, member of the Quorum of the 70, and member of the Presidency of the 70. Uchtdorf initially wanted to emigrate to the United States as a young man. However, Elder Theodore M. Burton, then serving as mission president in Europe, counseled him to stay home and build the church there. Faithfully following that counsel, he became an important instrument in the building of a stake and temple in Frankfurt. Steps towards the calling he now embraces. Dieter F. Uchtdorf was the Frankfurt stake president at the time of the building and dedication of the Frankfurt Temple in 1987. He even spoke about it on German television.
Ein Tempel, das klingt so ein bisschen nach heidnischen Bräuchen und Sitten. Sie zählen aber zu den Christen. Was passiert in den Tempeln?
Ja, wir sind Christen. Christus steht im Mittelpunkt unserer Religion. Der Tempel ist das Haus des Herrn, das Haus Jesus Christus. Es gehört ihm. Es wird ihm Ende dieses Monats geweiht werden. Und wir führen dort heilige Handlungen durch, wie sie praktisch schon in der Urkirche und im alten Israel durchgeführt wurden. Zum Beispiel die Taufe, zum Beispiel die Eheschließung, zum Beispiel Belehrungen über den Sinn und Zweck des Lebens. Und das Besondere an der Eheschließung ist eben, dass sie nicht mit der Formel abschließt, bis dass der Tod euch scheidet, sondern eben diese Eheschließung gilt für Zeit und Ewigkeit.
And his role in the Frankfurt Temple was indeed steps towards his apostolic calling. Because who was responsible in part for the work of the church in Europe at the time? Apostle Thomas S. Monson, of course. And just as a quick aside, here is Dieter F. Uchtdorf and his son Guido during the Frankfurt Temple dedication with 3 apostles: Neil A. Maxwell, Russell M. Nelson, and Russell M. Nelson's former counselor on the Bonneville Stake Presidency, Joseph B. Wirthlin. Uchtdorf was more than just the Frankfurt Stake President, he was also doubling as chairman of the Temple Dedication and Open House Committee. Now, to the point at hand, President Monson made many more trips to Germany for the purpose of building relationships with government leaders and strengthening the members there. Throughout his interactions with others, he developed lifelong friendships with those who would play an important role in the church's development. His journal recounts interactions with several capable priesthood holders, including one young airline pilot by the name of Dieter Uchtdorf, who would later become an apostle, and now serves as second counselor in the First Presidency. Another very dear friend of President Monson was Henry Burkhardt, who was called as the mission president of the newly created Dresden mission. This was the beginning of a relationship that would progress to Uchtdorf's calling to the First Quorum of the 70. He was chief pilot and senior vice president for flight operations for Lufthansa when he decided to retire in 1995. A member of the Second Quorum of the 70, he wanted more time to spend on his church calling. Shortly after that, President Thomas S. Monson of the First Presidency extended a call to him to serve in the First Quorum of the 70. President Monson said, "By the way, you'll have to retire now from Lufthansa," Elder Uchtdorf recalled, to which he replied, "I already have." As a member of the First Quorum of the 70, Uchtdorf was the president of the Europe West area from 1996 until at least 1999. He is also pictured here in 1995 with President Monson in Germany, just prior to his call to the First Quorum of the 70. As president of the Europe West area, His first counselor was none other than Neil L. Anderson. In April 2009, when Anderson became an apostle, his friend Dieter F. Uchtdorf was the second counselor in the First Presidency. Neil L. Anderson was promoted to the presidency of the 70 in October 2005, a year after Uchtdorf had been called as an apostle in October of 2004. At the same time as Anderson, Ronald A. Rasband, who would go on to be called as an apostle in October 2015, was also called to the presidency of the 70 to serve alongside Neil L. Anderson. This further shores up two of the more tangential sets of relationships that I covered in my previous video on nepotism. So in regard to Uchtdorf's journey to becoming an apostle, was it nepotism? Well, when you consider that Henry B. Eyring is the fourth in a line of nephews that goes back to Joseph Smith himself, it seems like a stretch to apply nepotism to Elder Uchtdorf's situation. However, what this does seem to show is that it is really just one big good old boys club. It's not the case that God inspires these men to grab a name pulled from the membership somewhere, someone they've never even met before, that should just come forward and take up the mantle of being an apostle. It's not even like they're praying over the names of current stake presidents to call into apostleship. There is a clear ladder to climb here, and if you haven't skipped a few rungs by being a direct descendant of a previous church leader or prophet, then all you have to do is serve with the right person on the right presidency and you're a shoo-in. This heavily skews the leadership of the church to a Utah-based demographic in a self-proclaimed international church.
The Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints is hardly a Western society or an American cultural phenomenon. It is an international church, as it was always meant to be.
When a church is present in 176 nations and territories, is it really okay that 86.67% of the First Presidency and Quorum of the 12 Apostles come from just one of those countries? That, combined with the seeming nepotism outlined in my previous video, does leave people asking the question, do you need to be family, or at least familiar, to become a Mormon apostle? Let me know what you think.